about the recycling. The recycling meeting she had attended, and the way I understand it, the recycling model is broken just because the recyclables are worth less and it costs more to deal with them. And she was even saying that in the future they're only going to accept clean, dry recyclables, which
That's correct.
sounds a little wild to me when I put the garbage out every morning. That being said, happy Halloween to everybody. I know it's quite belated, but some people in Ringwood had over 300 trick-or-treaters, I hear. I just wanted to mention that. The area of the lady streets was extremely popular to go trick-or-treating this year. I know it had been ramping up in past years, but wow. I saw some pictures. I wasn't there, but my kids experienced heavy-handed candy grabs because the other areas of town didn't have that many trick-or-treaters. Anyway, happy Thanksgiving to all, another holiday that passed, and I was thankful to be able to attend a tour of our Superfund site over the last month, which proved to be interesting. I had never been beyond the gate. It wasn't very exciting, although it was exciting meeting all the people that we met and seeing all the crowd, all the people that were very interested in being there. It was basically just this overgrown area with raised gravel roads. Most of the area seemed to be wetlands. We got to see a mine. That mine really kind of looked like a small pond. I say this because I was curious. I assume other people are curious what it looks like beyond the fence. We did see a stream flowing with colored water. It was like orange looking. I can't tell you that it was definitely because of the toxic waste there. It may very well have been naturally occurring. I have no idea. But it was disturbing to see, being in there and seeing that. I definitely smelled wild smells while being in there. And it was just generally kind of a wild vibe being in there. Hearing the stories from Wayne Mann and the other people who spoke, Vivian and Chief Mann, it's always disturbing hearing that stuff. And I don't know, I feel like those people have just always kind of been dealt the small end of the stick, so to speak. And so anyway, it was impactful being in there. And again, thankful for getting the opportunity. That said, there are two mines. We saw one of them, right? Both of these mines go deep, more than 1,000 feet deep, and they're filled with toxic water and/or paint sludge. I've learned that it would be very difficult, as people say, full cleanup. What's this full cleanup language? It's impossible, and it's true. It's disappointing when you hear, it's pretty much impossible to clean out the mines. You can't just go clean them out. We're going to try to pump and treat the water. We talk about this, Tom Conway mentioned tonight and has before talked about how the most toxic part of that situation is likely the mines. We need to deal with it properly. It's one of the reasons I ran to be on this council. That said, we have two mines and a landfill, which is profoundly different. It's not a deep mine filled with water. This is toxic waste that we can touch and remove. Maybe they covered it over with dirt or mixed it up a little bit. Some people say there's 10,000, not pounds. I've never even seen a pound of toxic waste, just sitting here. I had some in a jar once. And we have tons that are reachable. In fact, we have thousands of tons of toxic waste, reachable, able to be cleaned out, that this council could make a decision to have removed. Somebody says 106,000 tons of dirt that's laden with toxic waste. The estimate I thought was 80,000 tons of soil we may get that's clean enough to put into one of the mines as extra fill as we capped at. These are all estimates. We know there's toxic waste there. I feel very strongly that we should revert to 5A and excavate this. Who else is going to fight for the health of the people of this town, other than the people in charge of the town? The people in charge of the insurance company are interested in their insurance company not paying out. The people in charge of Ford are obviously not interested in paying the high dollar excavation cost. So I'd like to make a motion that we do the right thing and revert to 5A excavation. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Hold on a second.
Oh.
Resolution number.
Yeah, 214.
So we have a motion and a second on resolution 2018-214 for the Borough of Ringwood to request to revert to 5A. 5A being the designation of the full removal at the O'Connor disposal area has highlighted, I think, in the proposed plan, which was September 2013. I think that came out. You have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Can we,
What's your outline on paying for it?
I don't have an outline on paying for it, and I would discuss our plan forward in executive session. I'm not interested in talking about legalese in the public. Fight for the right of our residents to be healthy.
Okay,
That's
without
what
knowing any details on how he wants to pay for it, it's not a resolution worth voting.
Mr. Bolton, you have a comment? Mr. Bolton?
Sorry, I wasn't sure if it was just sort of as you described, or was there a resolution in writing to be read into the record?
No, the resolution was just as Mr. Ferretti stated, that the Borough Council should pursue remedy 5A with regards to O'Connor disposal area.
Okay.
Anything? You can't jump in and out of the conversation if you don't have the visual cues, bro.
I was like, wait a minute.
You're at disadvantage.
And it's a little harder.
That's a terrible idea. The situation at the O'Connor disposal area is not like the situation in the mines. In the mines, particularly the Peters mine, Ford did a lot of dumping. At the O'Connor disposal area, a lot of people did a lot of dumping. There was a lot of what they term municipal waste. It might not be actually generated by the town, but we might be responsible for it. Might is a very strong might. As a matter of fact, we are, because we've seen this go out one time. There was sludge removal area 6 called Sludge Hill. Had a whole bunch of garbage tied in with paint waste. And the EPA and the DEP allowed Ford's contractors to separate out the sludge, and then left what was left out. That stuff was mingled in with the sludge. They left that for the Borough of Ringwood to take care of. Okay, that became our problem. We were able to get rid of a bunch of the heavy metals. The state of New Jersey came in and removed $670,000 worth of other miscellaneous solid waste. There's still a bill for the Borough of Ringwood in the amount of about $670,000 down at the project manager, the NJDEP project manager's desk. Hopefully that's never going to come up here. But in the eyes of the EPA and the DEP, the borough would be responsible for it. We still do need a recycling center. There's going to need to be a place for the removal of woody waste and compost piles, leaves. These things are regulated by the state. Our current site isn't quite up to the standards that it should be. But more importantly than a recycling center, we need a cap on O'Connor disposal area. Generations ago, this was not some pristine Garden of Eden. This was called the slime pit. This is where they took the waste after they broke down the rock, and they took all the waste and put it into there because it was a low-lying wetlands area. They built up a dam full of mine tailings, and they kept on dumping their wastewater into it and let that evaporate. This was not some kind of charming playground with bunnies frolicking and stuff. This was a mess. And then they went in and they started throwing garbage on top of that stuff. And then they threw sludge on top of that garbage and intermingled it into a beautiful parfait of nonsense that we do not need to clean up, because EPA has studied the issue pretty in detail, and they tell us that it represents no threat. this walkthrough at the Superfund site. Mr. Ferretti, tell me, three people spoke. They all said the same thing. The borough is responsible. The borough should be held accountable. What do you think that means? What does that mean? How does that actually come into operation? How do we get to be accountable? What does that mean? If the borough is responsible and the borough is accountable, why would you think the insurance companies will jump in and pay that bill if the borough is responsible? That's ridiculous.
And we could defend that, right, that it's ridiculous and that we're not responsible. The polluter's responsible and the insurance companies can help to protect us. That's their job.
Okay. No. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I might have interrupted you.
Well, I'm just saying that what we heard up there is that they don't want a recycle center. A recycling center doesn't make much sense. And the EPA recommended a full cleanup before we came up with the idea of a recycling center. If the recycling center no longer makes sense, it makes sense to revert back to the original recommendation.
Okay, nonsense. Okay, we need a cap. Okay, a recycling center is a way to get a cap. We need a cap. We need a cap because if we start to disturb that material, we're going to be responsible for removing it. Our insurance companies, now, if you might have gone through and read one of these unilateral administrative orders where they tell the borough of Ringwood that Ringwood, you are the polluter. Okay? And they go out through chapter and verse of what we did back in the day, okay, that makes us be considered the polluter. And whether or not our defense.
Channel 77 is an all-volunteer organization. If you appreciate what you've just seen,